Like, we literally read to the. November 13th, 2024 school board meeting, school board meeting to order. We'll start by establishing the form, which we have. We have Mary online, and we're missing a couple tonight, but yeah, so we're gonna do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the Republic one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. We have a lot of stuff tonight, lots of people out there, so excited to see everybody. We have two visitors, and I'm gonna move on to. I
move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? And we got Mary on line up there too, she's in favor. Okay.
And I move to approve the consent agenda.
And I'll second that.
All right, thanks. All in favor? All right. Okay. Right, moving quickly along to our special presentations. First, we have our student representative, Lacey Malachi.
Okay, I prepared a presentation.
Oh, we have a special presentation.
I have a very special presentation.
I thought so. I thought you were mistaken.
It was slightly last minute, so if you see any errors, just ignore them.
Good disclaimer.
So recap, kind of my school activities we had through October and November. November Spirit Week, homecoming, the end of our fall sports. We have He-Man and Powder Puff coming up, as well as food drive. So for Spirit Week, Monday, our theme was going out versus staying in. Tuesday was why is this in my closet? Wednesday was on Wednesdays we wear pink. Thursday was college life or Greek life. Then Friday was twin day. Have some pictures up there of staff and kids throughout the school. On twin day, I played with Mr. Wortham and Reagan. That was pretty fun. We had a lot of participation this year. And then for our school activities, we did a school-wide musical chairs, which we didn't participate in because we were taking ASVABs. That was pretty sad. And then we had a lunch tailgate on the college day. That was really fun. We had a ton of ice come out. We did a barbecue. There was actually a lot of people there, which was great for participation. Homecoming, the theme was once upon a time a table themed dance. So the overarching theme was kind of fairy tales. The freshman theme for hallways and folks was Little Red Riding Hood. Sophomores had Beauty and the Beast. Juniors had Little Mermaid. And seniors had Cinderella. And then our football game theme was construction. I didn't have as many pictures of this one. I didn't do a very good job taking pictures this year, but in the bottom left, there's our homecoming hallway. I think we won, right?
Yeah.
We did a point system this year, so you got like a point for every person that dressed up for spirit things, and then we had staff members judge our hallways and our clothes.
It was great. The ending was great.
We got shocked because we had some sophomores on our float because our float was so cool. It was a shame. And then I don't remember if I said this, but our football game was construction. We had a good amount of participation for that one too. And then our sports recap or update, our girls soccer, boys soccer, and girls volleyball all made it to playoffs. Girls soccer got third in the league, 11th in state, boys soccer got first in the league, 9th in state, and then girls volleyball got third in the league and 14th in state. So made a good amount of turnout for we did well this year. And then upcoming, we have He-Man and Powder Puff tomorrow. 4 to 5 is He-Man, and then we have our fall sports award. Okay, was kind of in charge of it, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so Alexa Polnick, which our senior class president, is in charge of He-Man. I'm in charge of Powder. Actually just finished the rules for 30 minutes ago. But we're really excited. It's gonna be good. Powder Puff, please come out, watch it. We're really excited. I know the girls are really excited. This is the first year that they had Powder Puff last year. They actually had flag football teams. Now they've all actually played. which is a little concerning, but it'll be good, sure. So, yeah, no, we're excited. And then He-Man, is in the main gym, and I know Alexa is saying that that's gonna be, the charts, like for the list, all the grade levels, I think are full. So there's a lot of participation, there's a lot of kids signing up, so that's really exciting. So I got through that,
How do you get in?
get in for it.
To P-Man and Power
It's literally just a sign up,
How do you get into the event?
Oh, in a minute, you come in through the side door for He-Man, I believe.
Are kids bringing anything to get?
Yes, there is. You can bring cans.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah. But we should.
I'm ahead of myself.
Oh.
Oh.
No, you're not, hold on. Made a mistake. There we go.
The Thanksgiving food drive, like, yeah, it is coming up. We just made a video, and to enter in, you can, bring in a can of food, which supports our food drive. Each class, I believe it's next week, is competing. They bring an item to get a certain amount of points. If they bring in a full, they're trying to make a full basket of items, and if they get a full basket, it's like 50 points. The winning advisory will get to go to Putters and do mini golf, and eat pizza, so that's.
And then, tomorrow at our He-Man game, we'll have a donations table tomorrow from 3:45 to 4:30. So if anyone wants to come down and bring a donation, you can, during the He-Man water.
Then stay for follow.
Yeah.
And then go to Power.
Thank you.
Nice
That was a great job.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I would say. Presentation that we've ever had.
And hats off to you for all of the prep work and everything you brought to our homecoming game. It was amazing.
Thank you.
You did a great job with that.
All right, so we are going to kind of jump around a little bit tonight because we're waiting for somebody that's gonna be here a little bit later to do a presentation. So we're gonna move on to student achievement report from our CSD principals next. Thank you guys so much. You don't have to say it, because I know you love to do it.
That's the wrong one. That's the one we're waiting on.
Oh, yeah, we're
So
moving.
that's one.
Yeah, she's back here.
Yeah. Okay, so this is our, I think it's not full, this is small up here. CSD, beginning of your data report, this is the state testing data from the 23-24 school year. And I think I'm gonna click the right button. Okay, so we'll start with Creswell. Oh, good. I'm in charge.
This feels right.
Very often. I know, just
So we talked a little bit about this in this screen, just because we had gotten some initial data, but some of it will be repetitive, but we have official results. So you can see here, this is an overview of all of our third, fourth, and fifth grade scores in the area of math. ELA, down in the corner, right, or left-hand corner is our alpha proficiency assessments, and then our science scores. And science, of course, is just for our fifth grade groups. And if you look on the report card, we are ahead of the state in several areas, which is exciting and encouraging. So in the area of ELA, the top set of, is there right here? Oh. The pointer, the first slide is the overall state data, and then below that is our district, which is just Creswell. So for the area in third grade, you can see we were at 27 and 18%. So green is a level 3, which means like benchmark, like they made it, and then the blue is like above. So, and then yellow is just below, and then the red is that they're not even meeting. So I think the language they use is below, nearly meets, and exceeds. So we like to see a lot of green and blue. And as you can see, for third grade, we outperformed the state with our third grade scores, which is awesome because, third grade data is really important for reading. It's an indicator of
high school graduation and, they've been keeping people out of jail. So, we're pretty encouraged by our data, especially because of the implementation of our new reading curriculum that we're really starting to see a lot of like. In the area of ELA, there is some individual, they break it into some subcategories. So for ELA, there's writing, listening, reading, and then research and inquiry. So as grade level teams, we look at those individual subcategories so that we have kind of a narrow focus, and then it goes down into targeted areas as well. And one thing to highlight is overall with all of our students, we're seeing a huge increase in writing scores, which is one of the harder scores we see an improvement on, just because our new curriculum, both reading and math, has a pretty heavy aspect of writing embedded within the curriculum. So teachers are reporting seeing students coming in stronger every year since the implementation of our curriculum and its repetition. So that feels really great. Our fourth grade outperformed the state as well, with 22 and 28%, compared to the state at 20 and 22 with the at and above. And then we talked a little bit about our fifth grade cohort in the spring. There was a handful of variables at play that did result in us not performing as well as we'd like to in fifth grade. And then when we look at the fifth grade data, you know, we did make some improvements overall. So the writing scores, or sorry, the overall reading scores, and then the scores for research and inquiry for fifth grade, they both saw actually a huge jump in improvement. The area that fifth grade did not do well in, which is why the scores are low, is the area of writing overall as a grade level, they went down. So, and then in the listening section. So those two areas, those fifth grade teachers now are really digging deeper into the data, and like they're planning for that as well to hopefully see an improvement this year. Any questions on the reading scores?
Can I ask a logistics question?
Sure.
So they take this at the end of last year,
Yeah.
and then we get the data now, and so these were really our fourth graders.
These, there are six.
There are sixth graders.
There's middle school.
Okay, gotcha. So now they're okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
So as a district, K-12, I provide, you know, Julie's getting the reports of fifth grade scores, and they're able to adjust for that. But as a fifth grade team, we're also looking at the individual trends with standards, because we are able to look at longitudinal data. And so even though we might not have those particular students, the state assessment scores are really about systems and your school-wide system. It's not necessarily data to use on individual students.
Okay.
That's what our iReady assessments are for. So while we may end up looking at some individual kids' data, it's really meant for like systems.
Okay, thank you.
And then moving over to math, again, third grade, we saw an increase in our math scores, and we went from 20, well, the state was at 24% upon year at 27, 24, matched them with the students were above. Fourth grade saw performed from the state, 32% of students and 15 at and above, which is pretty great. And then again, our fifth grade is pretty comparable to the state. We would have liked to have seen much better scores, but similar situation as with reading. And then just for your information, math, there's the subtext for math. It breaks it down by concepts and procedures, problem solving, and data analysis, and then communicating and reasoning. And so with that fifth grade cohort, again, we actually had a huge improvement with the problem solving data from years prior. So that was encouraging that at least in some of those areas, we're seeing some growth. And then the area of communicating and reasoning and concepts and procedures are the two that the grade levels are really focused on in that fifth grade cohort. So. Oh yeah. We're talking about that. We'll move on. And then, so the area of science, we have just one data point for our fifth grade. So compared to the state, we did perform below. We're, still in the process right now of identifying, a path for science instruction at the elementary school, which we hope to have wrapped up by the end of this year. We will present on that more, but for elementary school, a lot of our science is embedded within our ELA time, just because of the nature of our day. We have only so many minutes and so many things to get through. And we're really fortunate that we have a lot of nonfiction within our ELA curriculum. We know we want to do better with science, and so our teams have been really digging deeper into the actual specific standards and looking at the conversation about like how we can boost those particular units. So.
Historically, has it been our fifth grade? I can't remember from last year, in fairness.
Is it what?
Is it historically been our fifth grade numbers that are not at state, at, the same level as the state? Was it a different grade last year? Because we had one grade last year, right? That was
The
similar to
one that's been done.
it's generally fourth grade.
That's good. No, that's
That's high.
That's why I was wondering.
I didn't mean to make it harder.
No, you're good. I actually think I left the science. I have the longitudinal data that shows like science, and science has pretty much stayed the same.
Yeah,
Which is why, we just can't keep doing the same thing, we're not seeing it.
Yeah.
So, no, we haven't stayed.
Okay. thank you.
This last year's cohort did, I think, worse than previous years.
Okay, thank you.
So kind of a recap of all the things we're doing in response to our data. So we're continuing to build our student leadership. This is not only just state assessment data that are responsive first, but also aligns with all of our district-wide initiatives. Mindy will be here hopefully later. He will provide a little bit more insight, but we have created this leadership team at the elementary school. We're really excited. They just completed their first project, and they're on their second. With the food drive, that they are getting some individual instruction with Mindy and with a teacher on leadership skills. A lot deeper than it was last year. We are starting with some quarterly reward parties to incentivize the behavior. This was a request from our staff. It was something that used to be a part of the Creswell culture, was what they call PBIS days. It used to be monthly. But we landed on a quarterly party for students who we are able to stay out of trouble and eat here at school and be in good standing with their classwork. So we'll be having that first party next week. We are an Oregon RTI focused school this year. We actually had a meeting today with our rep from ODE. She is sort of like a coach, and she's working with our specialist team to provide us support in the area of our tier 2 and tier 3 reading systems. And so really honing in on how not only are we identifying kids who need more supports, but what is that instruction, and then how are we assessing? So just really kind of handling it in a little bit more, so we can give really specific supports to kids. And so far we've felt that we're already seeing some improvements with our data team meetings and such, and that's important. And then of course we're looking at data a little bit deeper in all areas. We've started some collaborative teams with sharing some grade level bands. So our kinder and first grade teams, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade are collaborating more together in larger groups, which has been really helpful. We've already identified a number of like small areas that really makes a big difference. One of the areas that seems really silly is handwriting has been an issue, and I'm sure they see it at the second grade level too, that kids just can't write well, and a lot of it comes down to we didn't have like one way to teach handwriting, so teachers would just have a variety of different tools, and so that was something that came from this, is streamlining and making sure we have like one program of how we're teaching kids to form their letters. So just an example of that, which is strengthening those transitions between our cohorts. And so this year already, our teachers have been able to have conversations with each other about like, starting this fall, this would be something for next year if we can work on making sure students can do ABMCs. The teachers are able to kind of help support that vertical growth for students. We are, as a school, looking at data on Friday, and so hopefully out of that we'll be digging into interim assessments at 3rd through 5th grade. We are working on creating some, identified PD based on our test scores with ELPA. A lot of
A lot of our students, even if they're not identified as needing, English language supports, would qualify. And we tested all of our students, probably a lot of them, maybe because language in general is just, not something that all students come in with strength. So, as a school, we are focusing on providing that instruction to all of our students and the PD to teachers so that they can effectively implement it in their classrooms. And then we did a survey last spring that we're continuing to review and use that as a tool in our PD developments. Okay, the I'm one that's like, does no one want to click for me? I'm going.
Andy's like, yes, they do.
All right, see, this is why I'd rather have someone click. All right, Creswell Middle School. This is just the overview of our scores, and so we had 42% of our students meet the grade level standard on the science test. We had 32%, and then the 11% exceed, so the overall language arts score of 43%. For math, we had 17% meet and 15% exceeds. And on our ELPA, we had 7 students take that, and they're performing below grade level, but not far below, or far below grade level. So when you look at that by district, as far as like our grades, and then compared to the state, overall, looking at the data, we met or exceeded the state scores at every grade level in language arts and math. And our staff went over this data today prior to it coming to you all to have a discussion with also a staff survey, a culture survey that had been done, and then coming up with a set of goals that we'd like to work on for the rest of the year. So looking at the 6th grade data, we had 40% meet or exceed in 6th grade language arts, and the state score was 41%. So I think that was our closest as far as like not quite meeting it. The rest of them did. We had 39%. Our overall scores, I felt like in certain grade levels were really reflective of who we see in front of us. For instance, Amy's group, where we're looking at the 5th grade data, as 6th graders, they are struggling. We knew that with the high ready data that we received from them, and we knew that from just collaborating with the teachers and having those conversations as far as our master schedule. But really, when you look at the individual data, it is aligning with how those students are doing at iReady and what it looks like in the classroom for that group. As a whole, that group of students is very low. We have really had to take some time to go back to the basics as far as reading, writing, and math. They have chunks of their learning that are missing. I think some of that is due to where they were during COVID in their learning. But as a whole, they are much lower than the other groups that we have recently. So instead of, working on a 3 to 5 paragraph essay, many of them have been working on a strong sentence and a strong paragraph. And so that's taken a lot of collaboration between the teachers to kind of scaffold that and make the curriculum accessible for many of those students. As far as our district language arts, I was so pleased to see the 8th grade scores, and I will tell you why. I love those 8th graders, and Sarah has one of them, and they're now at the high school. But they were often kind of, as a whole, the group that was kind of like, what do you need me to do? Okay, I'm gonna do just that. That's what it looked like in the classroom. And so many of them never quite exceeded what, and we knew that they could get there, but often they were just kind of like, you need this, I'll do that, and that was the end of it. And so I was so excited to see the data on them today, as far as 50% of them, which was 8% higher than the state data. And I was just incredibly proud of them for taking the test so seriously. Because I think as 8th graders in the spring, you're kind of over middle school and you're ready to go to the high school. And then just knowing this group, they were really hard to figure out, something that would push them or make them work harder. Like they weren't always the incentives that other groups were very much into, this group didn't always seem to care about. And so I was just really excited about the scores, and how well they did. Math, also happy to see the results. In sixth grade, we had 34% of our students, and the state was 28%. As far as seventh grade, we have 31%, and the state was 31%. And then for eighth grade, we had 30%, and the state was 27%. I did find it alarming in general that the state score is, and even our score for eighth grade is so low, because I know how much that impacts the high school schedule, and then students on track in math. And we are seeing that this year. We've had to collaborate between the middle school and the high school in offering some more support at the ninth grade level for those eighth graders who just kind of continue to struggle on math concepts. Science, I feel like has always been our strong suit at Creswell Middle in general. We had 42% meet the standard and the state was at 26%. So I will say that, I mean, I feel like all of our teachers are doing an incredible job, but science is something that even students who maybe struggle with specific math concepts or struggle in reading and writing, science, although it incorporates all of that, does it in a way that is really authentic and engaging and hands-on. And so even for those students who are struggling in other settings, I feel like they are very much getting something out of science. And so I'm just really happy that we can offer that. I will tell you that in years past, prior to me, one of the things that would happen prior to Creswell Middle School having like WIN and electives was that students were missing either science or social studies in order to get their intervention. And I feel in general that that's a disservice to kids. And so I'm really happy that we worked K-12 collaboratively to figure out a way where kids aren't missing things. Because I do think that some of those kids that maybe are in the red in other places are showing the yellow and the greens because they're able to show what they actually know through science. So, what's happening at our school? We've been working really hard to try to streamline WIN and our school expectations of what that looks like. I'm very pleased with our students. A lot of times, if you don't grade things in middle schoolers figure that out and they're like, I don't have to do that. Or if there's no, I don't want to say consequence, but if there's no consequence, sometimes as a middle schooler, you decide you're not going to do something. And I feel like I'm really not seeing that this year across the board. Kids are working super hard and winning. So that's nice to see. The only way to fill gaps is to do the hard work. So that's great. We are working on our school-wide expectations as far as like accelerated reader, our expectation for homework, how specific subjects grade things, and trying to make that easier for families so that it's not, okay, in sixth grade math, they do it this way, but in seventh grade, they do it this way, and in eighth grade, that's really difficult for families and kids. Heck, it's difficult for me. So I know it has to be difficult for families, and so we've worked really hard to try to streamline that. We're working on our student study team process. I feel like we've done a better job making sure that interventions and tracking have been put in place. We have a form that we use with families to kind of look at what has worked, what hasn't, what are we going to change, and when are we going to re-meet and review. We're continuing to implement the adopted curriculum, and we have the newly adopted science curriculum. I just want to say that the newly adopted science curriculum at the middle school level
is the same curriculum we have been using in the other adoption, it's just the newer version. So I don't foresee a dip in the science scores. We were using that curriculum before, so. We are collaborating with Creswell High School, and we want to continue that to better align our classes, especially for the Algebra 1 when we offer it. Using data to drive our instruction and decision-making during PLCs and grade level and content area meetings. We are using iReady to monitor student progress and provide the interventions. We're providing a lot of input, PD based on staff input. One change that we made this year for our classified, not only is the state requiring it, but we're hearing that classified want more training, which is great. That's how you improve their support in the classroom with students as well. Is we used to do after school homework help every Wednesday, and we've gone down to every other in order to provide training to our classified staff at the middle school every other Wednesday. So that has been helpful. Continued collaboration with the other two sites. Also, we are providing accelerated opportunities for students who are above grade level. So we're providing some honors courses or an accelerated math, depending on student need. And I really feel my staff has worked very hard to continue that, even as we see budget cuts and having to reduce staffing overall. That's something we didn't want to lose in the process, because sometimes we keep those interventions, but we don't keep the acceleration. And that's also equally as important. And so we've found a balance, I feel. And then we've also implemented a digital citizenship program this year through Common Sense Media on top of the leadership program, which you're going to hear Mindy talk about. So lots of great things happening based on data. And look, here you go. Didn't even use the right button.
That looks sort of like pinky purple, I think it's your head, but, that's okay. We'll go with it being Creswell High School. So our data, again, it's not awesome, but it is better than the state, and we'll get to that, slide in just a second. I would point out a couple of things. It's been a long time, and not that there's only juniors in here and you guys have to take the test anyway, so I can say it. We look at data at the 11th grade, and it would be great if we, back in the olden days, 9th graders did it, and 10th graders did it, and 11th graders did it. And so while you could look at the data as a grade level, team, not necessarily for individual student results, but what you were teaching at that grade level and what students were getting from year to year. So you kind of, okay, this group as a whole needs a little more instruction in this area. So our 10th grade, we can build that up. And I'll talk about in a minute what we're doing to sort of combat that, if you will. So I'm gonna just flip to this. I don't have as many grades to talk about, so it'll go a little quicker. We only test the 11th graders. So in most cases, we were at or above the state average. This is our language arts. Our participation was not as good this year. The year prior, the state test started January 10th, which was perfect because we were able to offer it during their class time when they had that teacher in the class. And this last year, they switched it to starting in February, which meant that our kids had already transitioned. And with the state test not being a graduation requirement and students knowing they can opt out, they chose to do that in many cases rather than coming back out and taking the state test. So I'll also talk about how we're going to work to address that as soon as we look at the sports. So math, CHS, you can see did significantly better than the state when you just look at the numbers 20 and 24, 20 and 4%, and then 14 and 7. So we were above the state for math, and then in science, it's generally one of our stronger as well. And I think that while we're close to the state, again, the participation numbers are down, so then your numbers go down in general. And the state science test is a little bit of a gamble, if you will. We teach biology 9th grade, chemistry 10th grade, and physics in their 11th grade year. They also do earth and space in there, and there are some high schools, I've been talking to Julie about what happens in some of the other high schools, they offer some mandatory, non-mandatory classes in like earth and space, where kids could choose to opt out because they maybe already have their science credits, where we embed that as much as we can, some of those periphery sciences into our biology, our chemistry, and our physics. But each year, it's a mix of what they pull from. You don't get a certain number of chemistry, you don't get a certain number of biology, you don't get a certain number of physics, there may be some earth and space mixed in there, so science, I am proud of our scores also in that we typically are at or above the state, knowing that our kids are getting a very solid biology, a very solid chemistry, and a very solid physics, in the process. So we have been working the last few years to align our scope and sequence. We've had some staff shifts and some more teachers added to different courses. So for example, this year we have 2 pre-algebra classes, which we haven't had for a while. And then we have a couple less algebra classes, but that means now that we have 2 teachers working in pre-algebra to align those standards, 2 teachers working in algebra to align those standards, and then still just 1 geometry, 1 algebra 2 teacher. But we have established, in addition to the use of interim assessments, which we reviewed again today, because we start to bring those into our curriculum in the second half of the semester. Because remember, we're on a 4x4, so at this point, they've seen at least half of a year's worth of curriculum, so we start to bring in interim assessments. So the kids can practice, but, excuse me, so that we also see what that data looks like on those tests. But we, in each area, math, language arts, science, have built in a 4, an 8, or a 9, kind of depending on how your curriculum falls, a 13-week and an 18-week assessment, so that we can look at the data to see how students are doing, adjust our scope and sequence, and then look at those bands on the state test that we want to focus on. And last year for math, we focused on some concepts and procedures, specific standards being M, N, and P. And that's where we were low. The state was low across the board, but we were low. And so we actually had a 2% growth from the students the year before to the students this year, even having less that took it. So, and we're bringing that data from those 4, 8, 9, 13, 18-week assessments into our data meetings. So, let's see, professional development for educational assistants also, missed a word in there. Bullet point number 3, educational assistants, EAs. Doing the same thing, it's cultivate through Lane ESD. All 3 of us are working together we have a set group of sort of PD videos that EAs are watching. In some cases, they're watching it on their own. At the high school, they get into a group, they watch those videos together, and then they discuss them. So we're doing that along with the middle school and the elementary school. Student voice and input to improve school culture and climate, including our leadership student opportunities, school-driven professional development for instructional practices that support learning in a block schedule. We this year have taken on our sort of theme for professional development is learning versus performance, just getting our kids in that learning zone versus always being worried about being in the performance zone. And so what are they taking in? So that's our theme around professional development, and then also putting into that SIOP strategies. We had teachers trained last year from language arts, science, social studies. This year I hope to get math, some CTE teachers in there. around PSYOP strategies, which is sheltered instruction, and it's typically used for students who are English language development or English as a second language, but beneficial strategies for any students in the classroom. So we do professional development around PSYOP, and then we do professional developments with staff. This year, being again in learning versus performance. And so continue with our data-driven decision-making and our PLCs, grade level teams, collaboration between all sites. I really appreciate that about this group. I don't get the fifth graders until our eighth graders coming over, but we meet every year just to make sure we're doing a really great handoff for those kids from the middle school to high school. Myself, as well as the middle school and elementary, are participating in analyzing teaching for better student results. And then Brandon and Summer started that with us, and they will continue it later in the year. And then site council works on our school improvement goals. We had previously had on there graduation, and we feel like we have made some really big strides in graduation, having graduated 91 of 91 kids last year that we served in-house. So this year we kept freshmen on track, but we actually measure each grade level with the freshmen on track standards. And then just in continuing, we did 2-year goals, so our goals are based on the 23-24 school year, 24-25 school year. So we'll continue with our math goals in regards to those target units. That's it. I don't know how to, oh, just goes to end of slideshow.
Thank you all.
Any questions?
Do you guys have any questions for them?
So
Thank you.
one thing I did say is last year they allowed us to start offering incentives, so we're really gonna incentivize and do a sort of cross, school districts look at what data looks like and just pump up some incentives for our 11th graders, like, you know, what do some other districts our size in this area look like, and how do we get above that? So just doing some challenges in the academic field, donuts, JHS, you know.
Healthy competition.
Yeah.
Taking down
We want the
Sugar
sugar
high,
high, bring test, and then bring it low and then done.
Like it. And how much is a bucket of donuts? It's
Trophy,
donuts,
yeah.
what did we learn?
No,
Yeah.
$10. Are you serious? Yeah.
Yeah, we learned that this
The
weekend.
bucket of donuts.
I paid $37
I
for
know,
a
you have to get there
bucket
in
of
the
Dale.
40 of Dale.
Where is this?
And food donuts, you have to get there in like
You
5.
get a bucket of donuts?
You do.
Yeah, for $10.
For like $10.
They're high school kids, they're gonna eat it.
No, I finished it.
Okay.
We'll talk.
Okay,
I'll tell you how to do that.
Hook me up with those bucket of donuts.
You don't tell Mr. Hollingsworth though. he will.
Yeah. Well, thank you all. That was like a lot of information, but very nice of you to get that all together for us. No, it's a lot of work. Now Mindy is here. You're gonna give an. Okay. You know, I don't know. I have 15. Oh, you were at, oh, you were across. That's you were. Probably don't. Have I met with really good your
Yeah, we were talking about that. I will confirm.
I mean, it's a lot of.
It was matching.
Yeah.
I think it might be. Yes, I know. If you're back from the grant, it was, no. I'm very happy to be here. There's a lot, scanning a lot.
Yeah, yeah. You have enough, do you need me to fix them up here? I think they all have them. Okay. Sure. There you go.
Well, we gotta, we have enough time for that.
So maybe the. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, thank you. Weather in the storm. Yeah.
Need a pen? It was red. So red. That's the wind. The wind. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me and letting me kind of roll in here. I taught right before I came, working with seventh grade girls on the drama cycle, so I'm not sure what was more challenging, the weather here or working with those girls, but, I'm excited, really excited to be here. I would just love to say that, working with the principals and the schools has been such a gift this year. It's been really exciting to kind of see the transition, how we have worked with the staff. I came down last week and, I had a Zoom with the middle school staff last week, but the week before I was actually on site. I did an assembly here, at Creswell, and then I worked with the student leadership. So we're starting to kind of do some student leadership things, kind of elevating leadership, and then I met with the staff at high school. And across the board, I was so encouraged because what I was hearing was that they want more content, which is really exciting for me. And so we're going to be exploring kind of how we're going to implement that over the next month. I'm just gonna kind of talk to you and give you, I know last year when I was here, we did some exercises, we did your Power 5, I don't know if you remember them. We're not going to do it again, but I will ask you to maybe think about it. But one of the first things, one of the things that I did this year was I tried to really create some visuals in terms of what the Leadership Academy is going to be. So for those who, this may be their first encounter with me, I'm a leadership coach. I've been teaching for 22 years, executives and college students, and created this curriculum with the idea of how can we empower a generation at a younger age, so they're not coming to see me for confidence and social skills and professional skills when they are juniors in college or even mid-career. And so one of this is really my vision for the program and kind of how we are even rolling it out differently this year in terms of K through 5 really is, we're hyper-focusing on student relationship to themselves, understanding nonverbal behavior, and to their peers. And so we are working a lot and scaling it. I created a whole new coloring book for K through 3 this year, where they're watching different videos. We are learning that third graders want more content. They want the videos to be longer. So we're gonna kind of get in there and work on that. 6th and 7th grade really is our leadership curriculum, where we're helping them think about not just their relationship with themselves, but their relationship to the trusted adults in their life and how they can look ahead to how that will benefit them in their future. Once we get into high school, they're so focused on so many other things that concept can kind of be lost in some of it. And so getting them in 6th and 7th grade is really important, just thinking ahead. And then 8th grade is building on that, specifically thinking about high school and also to just executive functioning and really thinking about how they're going to transition from 8th to 9th grade. We're also doing this in the 5th grade. So we're getting feedback from the middle school to figure out how we can empower 5th graders, prepare them, and then getting information from the high school to figure out things that we can add to the 8th grade curriculum so that they come ready. And then 9th through 12th grade is really we're thinking about the relationship with their future and whether it be college or career. So one of the things that I wanted to do today is think about, so there's different parts of this curriculum. Last time we kind of talked about our personal branding last year when I came, and this time we're going to talk about some of the digital. Because as we think about these students' futures, even though they aren't having their personal devices in the classroom, the digital experience is part of their work. And so what I want to kind of give you is a bird's eye view of what it looks like for K through 12. So one of the things that you have here is a picture of the cloud. And oftentimes when we think about their digital footprint and the permanency of everything that they post, every communication that they have, they hear about it being on the cloud. And when they think about the cloud, they think of the cloud like this. They are shocked to find out that the cloud is actually this. And so even in starting K through 3 in our short videos with them, we're actually showing them the difference in what these things are, helping them just build on their language. And this is part of that understanding the relationship that they have with themselves and kind of their devices also too, because so many students, maybe not at school because they don't have them, but at home, this is a huge point of entertainment for them. So whether it be understanding their digital footprint or kind of, and how that builds on it. So at K through 5, we're really talking about the permanency of digital, just having them understand kind of what the relationship is. Last year, we actually did a digital safety, a Zoom for families, just kind of really having, laying the groundwork that these aren't bad things. These are things that they will use for their future, but oftentimes when they get a device, they go straight to the idea of it being a social device and not necessarily really thinking about that these platforms, the devices are created by adults who are wanting to make money. They're not created, oftentimes, I know there are some educational platforms, but really having them understand the importance of it. 6th and 7th grade is really thinking about digital habits, really thinking about whether they have social media or not, thinking about kind of their relationship to social media, not just thinking about it peer to peer, but really thinking about, again, we talk more about their digital footprint. And then when we get to high school, it's actually more exciting because they can really start thinking about how they can be using digital to kind of launch their futures. So I wanted to do a, Leadership Academy. Students will hear this all the time. We talk about working backwards. We take kind of where they're going and we work backwards for that. So this first thing that you have is a worksheet that we have with high schoolers as they are exploring their digital footprint and thinking about when a school or a company, a trade school, someone is looking them up online, which they do, what are they going to find? What is their digital story that they are telling? So I'm going to have you just fill out this top part. So I want you to fill in maybe what you remember your Power 5 to be, or 5 words that you'd like to be known for. And then I'd like for you to write down what you think your screen time for this week might be.
How do they work computers?
No. Personal screen time, yes. I do tell them this is not school related screen, this is personal screen.
Me too. Yes.
And I'm not gonna have you do all of this because this actually could be probably an hour-long workshop that I normally do, but then we have them really thinking about not just as we're thinking about being a leader, we also want to think about kind of the influence that we're leaving behind, not just for our future, but also what is influencing us. And really challenging them to, we've had to get a little creative, Jenny and I, because they don't have devices in the classroom to actually get in and look at it. So we've had to kind of get creative with when they're going to do this, but really thinking about kind of what their past posts are and then what's coming up on their For You. So what are they, anything they're looking for. I just did a digital safety panel for some of my students in Portland. And I had a professor from the U of O that said that 6 seconds now, companies are, the algorithm will change at 6 seconds. So when you look at something for 6 seconds, that tells the algorithm to start feeding you that information. And so really thinking about what are they seeing? Because even if we're curious about something and we click on it, that says the algorithm, start feeding me that information. And so really helping them to start thinking about, we can change the algorithm. You know, we can be looking at things that are more inspiring for us, that are helping us understand career paths and connections and ways we can get involved in the community and giving back and all of those things, if we are more intentional about it. And so this is kind of what, this is the sophomore plan, and I use sophomore because sophomore is such an important year when we're thinking about their resume, whether that be digital, or professional or academic, really just thinking about kind of what they're putting out there, because as we know, junior year is crazy. And then come the beginning of the senior year, they really kind of need to start knowing where they're going. So sophomore year is such an important year, to kind of get them thinking. We're doing this also in the 8th grade too. So we're layering these things in to getting them thinking about it ahead. So this is something that sophomores are working on, a way that we kind of bring this down. This is from our middle school curriculum, where we have them actually go through the platforms. We've talked about platforms and research, and then thinking about their Power 5 and how they can, what they're seeing related to their Power 5, and then also what they're posting and communicating to their Power 5. So when the idea would be, when they sit down with a resume or they're sitting in a college application and someone were to look them up, the same thing that they have on their resume would also be what's seen in their digital. And so because they're so hyper-focused socially, oftentimes they forget to actually tell a deeper story about who they are. Obviously not their locations and things like that, but, and then setting some goals for future. But as we move past, this is actually part of what K3, this is part of the K3 coloring book. And so what I'm going to actually have you guys do is I'm going to pass out a couple different colors. And on this coloring sheet, I'd like to have you pick one color for how people built a resume when you grew up, and another color for how students build their resume now. So what kind of contributing factors went into building a resume when you were in high school, and then what factors build resumes now?
Am I just writing the factors on here, Mindy?
What?
Am I just writing them on here?
Yep, just right. So one color is kind of thinking about a footprint, from, I don't know, 1993 is when I was, well, or younger, building my resume. And what components go into building of a resume now? Way back in time. Run the second group. Okay, so let's just popcorn then. What do people, what are some things that were resume building, when you were a teenager? Yeah. Or cool. Like what went into building your resume? Right. Yeah,
Jobs, whatever jobs.
yeah,
you have.
absolutely. Jobs that you had,
Education.
education,
Community service.
community service,
We have.
club. GPA. What? GPA. Honors. Yeah, honors activity. Now let's talk about things that go into a resume now. What are some additions? Obviously, those things still stay true. Yeah.
Digital footprint.
Your digital footprint.
Nailed it.
What aspects of our digital footprint would you say? Website? Social media?
I put my LinkedIn account online.
What?
I put my LinkedIn account online.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think what's so hard right now is there is this, it can be scary, right? The internet is a scary, when you talk about 6 seconds and the information that we're being fed, it's frightening. It's frightening the way that it's changing our brains, our students' brains, the anxiety that it's causing, but at the same time that it's not going away. And if we can help to kind of flip it a little bit without them having devices in the classroom, which I think is amazing, and getting them thinking about this in a positive way and for their future. Because at our, when we bring on experts for our digital panels, I always bring on a digital securities expert who actually talks about how they are building the infrastructure to be able to screen employees, essentially. And they are looking at everything. And we start talking to students about this, not to scare them, but in our K through 3 videos, that they are looking at the search history, they're looking at every like we've ever done, every comment we've ever done, and the sophistication and especially with AI, it's changing all of it. And so, while all of the things we talked about that were important on resumes when we were in high school, that's still true. But there's this whole other distraction that they have that's keeping them, when you think about, we also talk about screen time. And the one thing we can't generate more of is time. And so if they are spending, I mean, I have some clients when I go through and I talk to them about their screen time, and this is an average, about 30 hours a week on a screen, 6th and 7th graders. And we always gasp, but then, I mean, it adds up fast. And that is like a day and a half without sleep. And so we can help them to understand how they can channel that day and a half without sleeping into some of these other things, the quality of their resume, their confidence, and also to not just that, like what I'm trying to do with all of this is keep them from the junior year panic, where they're crafting their narrative in a really short amount of time and getting them starting in the 8th grade. You know, we built these skills and starting in the 8th grade, having them really start to think, having conversations with adults, talking to their teachers, really understanding the power of their trusted adults. One of the things when I met, actually both with Creswell and the high schools, we already have it in our middle school curriculum, is this idea of trust funds and the idea of using the relationships they have with trusted adults in their life, like a bank account, thinking about how they're banking trust and when they're withdrawing trust and the actions that they can do to bank this trust. And that those actions are what is going to help them. Those adults are willing to open their network to them if they banked trust with them. And so using some of this digital time that they have and maybe channeling it in other ways, or also to just building out there for you to being a little more inspiring for them and giving them hope and confidence towards their future.
So that is it for this slide, but one of the things I'd like to do and maybe take about 5 minutes is I would like to play a game of bingo with you. So this is something that I actually provide for the teachers kind of throughout the year. When I've come, we've played it actually with the whole school when we've done when I did an assembly last year. And so these are concepts and things that we talk about. They're kind of peppered in K through 12. So our first is going to be 7%. So go ahead, if you have 7%, you can cross off your Power 5. That is your freebie. Next is going to be open questions. Next is email. Running a meeting. Social reward for disrespect.
Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? I'm not doing right.
Yeah, right.
I thought that was if you did it.
Oh, no.
I'm doing all of it.
I'll black this thing out.
Trophy of mine. Trust funds adult mentors. Safe zone. 55%. Stress hormone.
I just find
Community reputation. Working backwards. Informational interview. Proactive step. Holes in information.
I'm a blackout.
I know what you
Closed questions.
Finger.
I'm older.
Need to be more exciting.
It wasn't me. I wouldn't be all the way on. I'm really
All right, so I'm gonna have you just read what you have and I'm gonna explain kind of how we talk about it in the curriculum. So tell me your first.
Close questions.
Okay, so closed questions are when we talk about having conversations with adults or even their peers. Closed questions start with who, what, when, where, why, how, did, and do. And those are all conversation starters that only require someone to give you a one-word answer. Fine, good, something they like. Where we work on open questions that start with tell me about. And this, when we start talking about it in the elementary school, it really comes into play when we are talking about them doing their informational interviews and being curious about, like,
Well, I should not have used purple and drawn on each and every single one of these, so there's that. Footprint cement.
okay, footprint cement. Footprint cement is the idea that oftentimes they think of their digital footprint as in sand, and that they're gonna post something and they can delete it, and it's gonna go away, because it's on their device. And so as we're educating them about what the cloud actually looks like, they finally understand that I think that there were some kids that were crafting ideas to take down the database, anyway, last year, it was funny, but, yeah, so that when we do a digital footprint, it is in cement, it is not going away instead of that idea of sand, okay?
I don't know what the next one is. It's something information.
Is it informational interview?
Nope.
Holes in information.
Oh,
Yep.
it's an information.
I was like, I don't know. So
Okay.
something information.
Holes in information is something that we talk about repeatedly in high school. We talk about it a little bit at the middle school, and we're talking about working backwards and thinking about what they don't know. You know, if you don't know the date of a test, you know, they'll be like, well, my teacher didn't tell me when the date was. Well, chances are it's written on the board in your classroom, you weren't paying attention. So starting to think critically about, okay, when I don't know something, when I have a hole in information, whether it's my future, whether it's a test that next week, how can I be proactive in assuming responsibility for this? So we start talking about this really, we're starting in the 5th grade. We really hit it 6th and 7th, but we translate that into kind of their future, in high school.
Trust fund adult mentors.
Trust funds adult mentors is this idea that oftentimes we really think about banking trust with, we talked about this in the video that I just sent to Jenny last night, that we think oftentimes about trust funds, especially with our parents and our teachers. They are the ones that are gonna kind of call us on stuff. We're gonna know when we've made withdrawals from them. It's the adult mentors in our life that sometimes will quietly, mentally it'll make a check for us or against us without them telling us. But this is really thinking about coaches, family friends, your friends' parents, all of these people that will have a huge, open up their networks to you, help you answer questions. They want to help you more than just thinking about it in terms of parents and teachers.
Social reward and disrespect.
Social reward for disrespect. We added this to, it's something that I've been working with my students in the classroom for a long time, which is this idea where they're getting social reward from their peers, whether they're the one being funny or they're laughing at the person being funny, and not really realizing that what they're doing is they're showing disrespect to the teacher in front of them. And so we actually added this full video series for 6th and 7th graders this year, just having them think about, am I leading the social reward for disrespect? How am I following it? And as a leader, what can I do to kind of clean it up? And it's really interesting. It is a concept that they pick up on really, really fast. Is that it?
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Are there any questions? Any thoughts?
Thank you for coming and doing this, and I know it's a long drive for you, so I appreciate you coming back and showing us what you guys are doing, because it's really cool stuff. And we're very lucky to be doing this in our district.
Thank you so much. I was so encouraged because, Amy and I, can I tell the story about graduation last year? Is that okay? About the handshaking? Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. I should have asked you before, but totally putting you on the spot. Okay. So, it's really hard sometimes to quantify this. And, when I see and I come see the students, and there's middle school students that came to our full, a family dinner that we had where we talked about etiquette, because, it was we got a lot of pushback, people not really sure why we were doing this. Amy said that last year at 5th grade graduation, that you shaved off time because the students had some of these social skills down, and so they already knew how to shake a hand, and they were making eye contact. And so for me, that was so encouraging, because I know it works, and I know that it's gonna really make an impact from their sophomore and junior and senior year when things start to click. But it's really awesome to see that just after 1 year of implementing social skills, that they were already seeing an impact. And for me, it's all about confidence for these kids. That tells me that they are adopting this and they're feeling good about themselves, and that's what changes the trajectory of my human life. So, thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
all.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. Lovely. All right. Just come around and play with him.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah, you can have her back. Sorry about that. I thought about it.
Thank you. My students really like these because they're not off brand.
I have some off-brand ones, and they don't really.
I like now. Now we're-
After the third one, I feel like that.
I like
Yeah.
I know.
Well, mine is gonna be short and sweet compared to all of the lovely information that has already been shared with you, and to be honest, they actually are supplementing my entire presentation, so it makes it really easy. My job is really easy. So today I am talking to you about our annual report on our integrated programs. So this presentation is giving a look at what our district has achieved over the past year, along with some of the challenges we face as we work towards our goals. And so this report is part of our promise to keep you informed about our work and our efforts to keep moving forward. So this is just a snippet to let you know why we're doing this. So ODE's annual report consists of 2 narrative questions, which is gonna be the bulk of my presentation. And we have to report on our expenditures and give reflection on narrative questions and report on progress markers throughout the year in our annual report. This is a visual representation of how this all interplays. So there's 7 distinct performance measures and processes that are used in monitoring and evaluating the process for implementation. So the first one is longitudinal performance growth targets. LPGT is usually how you see that abbreviated. You also have underneath that the high school success eligibility requirements. Next door to that, you have the state CTE Perkins performance targets. Then there are progress markers, which those guys along the way. And then you have the local optional metrics that are also next to those as part of the process. Quarterly and financial reporting and annual reporting. And then for SIA pieces, we have auditing and performance reviews. So again, this is just a visual representation that has been provided to show how that all goes together. And then SIA reporting requirements, we review our own progress on an annual basis through annual progress reporting and a financial audit. We present that annual report to governing board at an open meeting with an opportunity for public comment. And we post the report on our district websites. And then we have a couple of different years where we provide assurance and narrative questions along that process. So our first narrative question is, as you review your progress markers and overall reflection responses and reflect on a planned implementation, how do you see your progress contributing to the outcomes and strategies in your plan on your LPGT and LOMs? Discuss at least one outcome where you've seen progress in implementation. So within this narrative, I try to pinpoint the outcomes that we have. And it's great because I get to talk about Mindy and part of that and some of the other data that got brought up tonight. So over the past year, we've made measurable progress in several key outcomes within our educational plan, each aligning with our overarching goal to support student success and meet those growth targets and optional metrics. Outcome A focuses on developing a K-12 pathway for life, college, and career readiness. And we're advancing that goal through our partnership with leadership expert Lady Lockard, offering student essential leadership training that builds foundational skills for future academic and professional success. Outcome B addresses fostering a sense of belonging for all students. That comes through parent-square communication, provision of one-on-one Chromebooks, and actively gathering student perspectives through site councils. These tools and initiatives are designed to increase inclusivity and empower student voices, contributing to a supportive school future. Outcome C looks at the long-term student wellness, which we've emphasized through healthier meal options like our shift towards scratch cooking. And then lastly, you have outcome D, which is focused on instructional support and success, where we've adopted new math and language arts curricula paired with comprehensive literacy strategies and professional development, which ensures our educators are equipped to deliver high quality instruction that meet diverse student needs. And then the second narrative question is, where have we experienced barriers, challenges, and impediments to progress toward those outcomes and strategies in our plan, and discussing at least one outcome. So specifically, attendance, that is a significant barrier towards our progress. Across multiple grade levels, low attendance rates have created challenges in maintaining continuity of instruction, reducing engagement, and impeding students' abilities to meet academic and social emotional growth targets outlined in our outcomes. Specifically, you can see inconsistent engagement, lower attendance disrupts their learning progress, and it makes it difficult to maintain consistent engagement and achieve intended academic growth. When attendance gaps occur, students face learning setbacks that require additional instruction, time, and resources to help them catch up, which impacts overall progress. And then there's resource allocation. So it requires significant resources, including staff time dedicated to outreach and support for those frequently absent students. And that diverts resources from direct instruction and enrichment opportunities can obviously benefit our student body. So support in that would help us move closer to achieving those goals. And then just as a visual, I did include a quick snapshot from Oregon Data Suite about our attendance, where you can see that for last school year, 22% were chronically absent. So just validating that unfortunate piece. But that is part of what is required in this report. And I will have this slideshow as well as that information on our school website. So if you want to look at this report in more detail, you can do that at that time. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Bethany. She got turn. How do we get the turn to this?
They're not all here.
They didn't want to. Oh, wait. I gotta review the.
All right, so part two of last month's state school fund revenue discussion, we talked about looking into spend numbers a little bit more. So, or how the spend numbers affect our formula. So there we go. So start with our sped enrollment. We, and this whole presentation for sped is on 23-24 numbers. So 185 total sped students, 147 are served here at Creswell School District, and 38 are home placements. Those 38 have higher cost, which qualifies most for the high cost disability grant. So 35 did qualify, 3 did not. Our average breakdown, a sped student served at CSD here cost us about $15,000, whereas a student that's placed in an alt placement is about $55,000. So total there of our 147 students served last year was about 2.2 million. And the 38 students that were served outside at alt placement were 2.1 million. Total expenses equaling that 4.3 million. Those include staffing, services, alt placement, transportation. And when we're talking staffing, that includes teachers, EAs, nursing, speech and language, psychologist, interpreter, OT, PT, and then our director. So the revenue, we collected 3.8 in regards to sped funding. That came from the state school fund, Medicaid, grants, and the Lane ESD service order. Those grants would include the IDEA funds, YTP, which is Youth and Transition Program, and the high cost disability grants. So that creates this $500,000 difference in what we spent versus what we brought in. So why the gap? We talked about it last month, and you saw that little graph there. The state puts a cap of 11% on the weighted points. So we of course get 1 point for every 100, for all 185 sped students we have. They're included that in the ADMR there at the top. But additionally, for sped students, we get more weighted points, but with that cap is at 118. Then they throw in the above 11% with the 19 points, but that still doesn't give us 185. So because of that shortage due to the cap, if they were to erase that cap, we would have received an additional $355,000 funding. So that would be one reason for the gap, and then the other reason would be the high cost disability grant is not dollar for dollar. So our students that are considered high cost, the high cost disability grant kicks in for all funds spent over $30,000, but only at 50 cents on the dollar. So, in my analysis, those are the two main reasons for the shortage in sped services. Any questions or thoughts?
No, but I do think this is exactly what Lisa's looking for us to go advocate at the state level, is these very specific details that are affected our district, right? Like not statewide, what does it mean? What does it mean to Creswell? And that's the conversation I think she's been talking about that we want to have with our state legislators. Because we know sped dollars are on the table.
There's a little bit of.
Can you send that report to Lacey?
During our,
Yes.
So it's one area that's impacting it. Another is our first cost. And the governor has come up with this $500 million, kind of an emergency fund to assist us in the next biennium, but PERS costs wipe that out. So where she's counting this 500 million to assist us with the gap, it doesn't, it really, because the PERS costs take that away from us. And, OSBA is putting that number out there. They've received that number, from COSA and then also from the State Department on verifying that that's the number. And it is, that's the exact number that it costs to cover PERS.
I think that would be to Lacey's conversations, right, of like, what's our next step? I think for us to articulate what those PERS costs are here is probably the next step in putting the numbers together. I mean, we aren't going to the legislature next month, right? But I think these are the things she wants us to get together to have more targeted conversations.
Yeah.
Thank you, that was very good.
Yeah, so, and the other one I have here was, an update on food service. So, as you all know, we started our CEP program district-wide this year. So just some numbers in comparing to last year, we've seen the increase at the middle school and high school, which would be as expected since Creswell was part of this program last year. It was already overall. So we're pretty status quo for both breakfast and lunch here at Creswell. But the middle school, in comparing 23-24's September, October months to this year's school year, September, October months, that's the numbers. So they've increased 125% and the high schools have increased almost 50% for breakfast. Lunch.
Free at all schools, right?
Yes,
Free
free,
meals.
that's why, yeah. Free meals for all and no applications or anything like that. So, lunches are increased at the middle school and high school as well. Just happens to be high school, literally 47% for both lunch and breakfast. One of the data points we have to track and then, put in our monthly claim for the meals to the state is the highest days served. So in tracking that, we are up an average of 47 students eating breakfast at the middle school every day, and an average of 28 students eating lunch every day at the middle school. And at the high school, 41 more kids are eating breakfast every day, and 42 are eating lunch every day. So district-wide, if we look at all three schools, we are serving 50% of our student body for breakfast and 70% of our students for lunch. And then just a little blurb on how this kind of affects the budget. So last year, our food service department had a total expense of just about $700,000. From the CMP program, we received revenue of $570,000. This fund did not receive a transfer from the general fund. Because the $130,000 difference was made up of the combination between the beginning fund balance and our paid lunch sales. So this year, we knew that there were some unknowns because of going into CEP. So we have budgeted $100,000 in general fund transfer, but I can say looking at September and October's expenses versus revenue, we are zeroing out. So if that's needed, it's too early to tell, but that's just a little snippet of where we're at.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah.
Fine. It's your turn.
My turn?
It is, I mean, not everybody gets a turn tonight.
Okay.
It's your turn.
Mine's gonna be really short. You see my activities for the month. I've been pretty busy around the projects and meeting consultants in those areas, but I think in my highlights, and this one, I mentioned here seismic, the seismic project and meeting with the contractors there, consultants, but they're going to be wrapping up this week at CHS. And so hopefully they'll move out next week And, then we have, then we just have what we still have the finish, the painting to finish on the exterior. And then, but as far as, the interior work or them being in the way inside the campus, they should be out of here by next week. Which we're gonna celebrate. And then, the CTE building layout, I'm working with Rob, with the engineering of the, CTE building, and he's at R&M Steel in Idaho. And so about a week ago, we finished the layout design. And now he is developing the schematic and the engineering specs on it. So, we'll get a look at it. And, that's a big one though, for me to get that out of the way. That's a lot of learning and just trying to be able to connect with him at his level as an engineer.
Can you remind me where the other two buildings are that we've done?
LeGrand and then Warrenton.
Yeah.
We should go visit that.
I know.
And then, baseball and softball turf, the softball turf is, I think, pretty much installed. We're just waiting for it to dry out to get the rubber pellets in there. And they, have continued, they were working on the baseball field yesterday, so as the weather clears, clear days, they'll be on the baseball field. Finishing that up, but, looking forward to getting the backstops in, then the dugouts, and then the nets, and then we're done,
That'd be great.
somewhere along there.
Okay. Making progress.
Any questions on any of the progress? All the progress stuff is, this month's progress, is in red.
Glad to hear the high schools are moving.
That's the theme for the high school, moving along.
That's a good way, that's a good joke.
1 out of 50, I get a chuckle. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so we have no public comment tonight, so we're gonna get going by that. And then we have some unfinished business, I can talk. Yeah, then we're gonna we have to.
Yeah, so, I move to approve the adopted posted policies as outlined in the agenda.
There's a lot of them, we can make her read them, so.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Well, there's Mary again. Oh, hi, Mary. So motion carried. Do we have any discussion with anybody? Oh, I did, I should have said that before, we discussed it last week, so we're, okay, so we should have, but we're. All right, new business.
I move to approve a date change to our January 2025 board meeting to January 13th.
Yeah, Ms. Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, now we can have some discussion on that. I see Sarah like looking at her calendar, like, why are we moving it?
so I don't forget?
So I think that the reason we're moving it is because we were still gonna be,
Well, the January board meeting is scheduled to happen right when we return from winter break.
yeah,
January
yeah, so it
if
was
we
right.
move it a week later, then we'll be able to get all our reports together and all that
Yeah,
in time for the meeting.
people wouldn't be. So, is there any other discussion?
No, I moved it.
Okay, all right, all in favor? Okay, all right, I think here it is. And I remember that.
So I move to adopt the OSBA resolutions. I'm gonna do one at a time, is that okay? So there's 3 resolutions, and we're gonna do them one at a time. So I move to adopt OSB Resolution 1, the new OSBA dues schedule amendment.
A second. Okay, now do we want to have some discussion around that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the resolution 1 is the due schedule amendment, which is changing the amount of dues that we pay to OSBA. Correct.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
And I know that there was some discussion surrounding it at the
Was it at the legislative roadshow? At every meeting
At
we
every
had.
meeting we've been to recently, there's been some discussion about the things that are changing with OSBA.
Yeah.
So, does anybody have any questions about the change? I know Mike, you called me today and had the,
Yeah, is that the question?
this
Help me out here,
is
Zach.
the due schedule, so I think that it changes it from, I don't remember what the cost difference is from.
Yeah, like,
Going from 250 to 2,500.
It hasn't been changed in 25 years.
and that,
I know it hasn't, but it's,
so Mike, remind us how many what ours is. Or maybe Chanel.
It's 25.
I don't think
the
they're.
cost of our dues for OSBA.
Let me double check.
We have less than 2002.
Yeah.
Okay, so ours would go, you're right, to 2503. That would be our new one. What's our current?
That's what she's looking at now.
I'm guessing it's 1,500 or something like that. Is that sound right? Yeah.
What the new dues?
The old one
Our
was
current
1,500, our new one is
dues.
25.
I do that as well, we can exactly.
Yeah.
ASDs was 250 and now it's going to 2,500.
I don't know why they're so low.
Well,
But because they have under 100, why is it going to?
Ours is going to 2503. It's gonna be based on our student population.
Yeah, they voted theirs down. They weren't gonna pay it at this time at all. We got an earful last night.
yeah, we've all had that same earful, and
I, after listening to her, and I know her really well and I trust her, I let's just say, can we delay on that? So, because I think sounds like there's quite a few
Well, we don't-
school boards that are not gonna pay it.
well, but we just vote against it then. If we don't want to vote for it, we wouldn't withhold payment necessarily, but if all the school boards vote against the dues increase, then that's what we would do, is vote no, right? We don't have to vote yes.
You don't have to vote yes.
It's a resolution.
That's like 2,500 and 15% a year for 5 years increase.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
that
I
is
was
what it is.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, I think it's perfectly acceptable to vote no.
Yeah, I'm totally up with that, up for that too. I mean, we have discussed it a little bit, but not every group, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
But, and it's interesting that ESC.
So did Lane ESD vote last night? Did they vote no?
they voted no.
Yeah.
Yeah, Linda Hamilton she's on the board and there's a.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, so I didn't see it firsthand.
It's okay,
There's a lot of.
We did, yeah.
You guys
We
were
did.
there, you got it too, but, I think she's got several good points and I
Yeah.
just delay for a week or two or whatever, just to see where this all turns out.
So we have two options. We can delay voting until next month.
Because it's not due until what is it, the 15th.
Yeah.
So we could delay that and not vote today and decide to just table it. That way we can have further discussion based on what we think other people are doing. Or we could vote to not adopt it, not.
We could also, invite Linda Hamilton to the next board meeting if she wanted to speak to this board about it. Okay, I would recommend that if you guys, well, you guys were there too, though, and I'm sure you've already heard a big part of it. But there was a lot of things she was really adamant against, and I wasn't there, but.
Yeah.
Mike, if it would
I
make you
didn't
feel
think
more comfortable to come and hear more, there's no harm in us delaying it and inviting her to come and talk to us.
That's what I'd like to do if we could. I mean, and I'll go along with what you guys vote on, but I think we should listen to her.
I have zero problem voting no, so I'm gonna be the opposition. I don't think we need to invite Linda, because I think we've all heard Linda's opinion in 3 different arenas now.
Cause you heard it last night.
You heard it last night. We heard it at the road show.
I wasn't at the roadshow, but I heard it at OSBA.
Yeah.
So I feel informed. I don't know, Mary, did you feel like you heard what Linda was saying?
Yeah, I did. I heard her at OSBA. I am comfortable voting no, based on what I've read and what I've heard. But if you guys want to hear more from her, I'm okay with that too.
I'm okay with not hearing more from her and just voting now.
Yeah, I am too. I don't have a problem with that.
I am in full support of that as well, just after the session that I sat in and the things that I've heard. So, yeah.
So then we need a motion to, no, do we need to, because you motioned to approve it.
Yeah, so I think,
We have
Was
to,
that
oh, are we
all
just,
approved?
oh, we don't,
no, we just voted down.
we just voted down. So all in favor?
Wait, excuse me.
Oh, so I knew Marilyn was giving me smiles.
So the motion is,
To adopt. So do we need to?
No, the
well,
way
you have, you can, yes, adopt, no, do not adopt.
Okay.
So you could say, you're gonna make a motion to not adopt.
Okay,
No.
Resolution, that would be the proper.
okay, so I'll make a motion to not adopt resolution 1.
Okay, and we need somebody to second that.
I'll second that.
Okay, so all in favor of not adopting? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Marilyn, for your help. We always very much appreciate it.
Yeah.
Second line, same thing.
Okay, so the second one, we're gonna.
Okay, we actually, if you guys are okay with it, we'd like to do 1 and then 3, and then talk about 2. Okay,
Yeah.
is that okay? Okay, so I move to adopt the OSBA resolution 3, which is amending the bylaws.
Do you have a second on that? Anybody?
This has to do with putting in, it has some pretty basic word changes, but then the big thing is adding. Oh, yeah, sorry.
You want me to?
Adding what?
Can somebody just?
Someone has to second
Second it,
it.
and then we can discuss it.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Now we can.
Yeah, good call.
I'm starting to learn what I'm doing.
No, you're doing great. So there's some pretty basic word changes, but the big thing in this is adding reporting requirements on caucus dollars.
Yes. Like.
Well, currently they have the rural schools caucus. And they have the Black Affinity caucus, is that right?
Yes, so there's 2 caucuses that they have right now, and then they receive a certain amount of funds each year, but they don't have any reporting to be tied to it, is my understanding. And so this is adding some accountability for the dollars that they have and what they're doing with that money that OSBA is providing.
That was one of the things.
So I feel like there should be probably some accountability, so I think that it's a good language change.
And we're not voting on the caucus yet. That's a
That's
different
the
resolution.
So that's why we wanted to spread them out so that we could kind of discuss what we were thinking as a group, and they're kind of, that's a lot to take in. So does anybody else have any questions about this bylaw amendment? Mike, did they talk about this last night at ESD?
Yeah, she went, I don't remember, she went through the whole thing. And it kind of got me much, I wasn't at the same thing you guys were at. She was pretty fired up,
It also got us by surprise.
The second time, not a.
but, she had some good points that I don't know what the other side of the story.
About the bylaws specifically, or the caucus, because the caucus is
The
separate.
caucus is
I
that
think the caucuses and then the cost.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Really,
that's our next
her
discussion.
thing was accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is probably something that they probably didn't in favor. They didn't.
So,
Did they vote in favor of this? Do you know?
the only thing they voted on last night was just to pay their dues or not. And you just said,
Oh,
Oh, okay, can try, well,
But
so, all in favor of amending supporting the amendment of bylaws? Okay, motion carried.
okay.
Well, the last one is the
Now,
second hit.
so the next one is adopting the OSBA resolution for resolution number 2, the Oregon School Board Members Pride Caucus. So someone seconds it and then we can discuss it.
Okay. We have a second on that?
And then we can discuss. I'll second.
Okay. So we talked about this a little bit, in our leadership meeting, and, There, I think that Candace and I, when we were reading through it and talking about the adoption of this, was that maybe just not. But did you talk about just not voting on it?
Yeah.
As a whole, like not adopting it, but like not agreeing with it or not disagreeing with it.
We were talking about maybe abstaining
Abstaining
from
because,
voting on this one until the bylaws changed and there is accountability in the caucus. Because it felt like we didn't know what voting in another caucus really meant or how it was handled. And we'd like to see the
before the
outcome.
dollars are like
Yeah.
going out to another caucus and like where that carries it. I don't know if you guys have feelings on it. Mary, any thoughts?
Yeah, sorry. I feel like reading through it, I think I'm just echoing what you're saying. It doesn't feel clear to me on what I'm voting on. Exactly. So for me, I agree in that I'm not really comfortable. I don't know what the options are, but I'm not really comfortable voting on something where I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be of my vote. So if that's something that if we have time or we have an option where we can wait and learn more, I'm fully in support of that after reading through the documentation.
So how do we abstain from voting?
I think, can we just remove the motion? Can we just?
Marilyn?
Motion to abstain.
Can we motion to abstain?
You can make, yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
you want to do that, abstain, make your motion
Yeah.
to abstain.
Yeah, so I want to amend my motion to make it a
Okay.
motion to abstain from voting on resolution 2.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor? Right. Good job, that was some tough work there.
When do we do? We have to vote by December 15th for that. So when are we gonna?
This is
This
about,
is the ballot.
This
This
was
is
about, yeah.
the ballot. We're taking care of it tonight.
And then somebody's gonna fill it out and send it.
Marilyn does that.
Yeah,
She-
I got it right here.
Yeah.
I just fill it out and send it up, if that's, what you want me to do.
Yep, that would be perfect. We would much appreciate it. All right, so the next item is a discussion item for the gift organization activity that we do next month. Generally after our board meeting, we help.
yeah, I got some, information on that today from Amy and Cuero, and, she's been working with Catherine, so Amy's gonna kind of give you the scoop on what's happening with that.
Yes, so we have a unique, let me pull up my dates here real quick, but we have a unique calendar this year with our board meeting, not landing on that last week before the gifts are distributed. Therefore, we won't be in this space where the gifts are here because they come the week after. Okay. So if you are interested in volunteering, she is meeting, she does have some of the staff coming over from the organization that helps with the gifts. So it'd be the following, yeah, it'd be the 18th, I'm sorry, it'd be the 19th, the 19th. No, it's Wednesday. 18th, yeah, 18th. And she will have, volunteers starting to trickle in around 2 o'clock that day. She doesn't think it's gonna take very long, but if you are free, available, interested, she would welcome your help, but also it's fine if that's not an accessible time for you.
Sorry, what time did you say?
2 o'clock. I know.
It's okay.
And then the 19th and the 20th, so Thursday, Friday will be distribution day, and I'm happy to reach out if there's opportunity to engage with the community. I don't know if that's of interest, but that runs throughout the day, evening. Okay, if that's a better option for your volunteer, if you're interested, so. I guess work through Mike and getting that information communicated out. Yeah, no, I'd be happy to help. I'm pretty open.
I'm sad to be missing this.
Huh?
I'm sad to be missing
And
it again.
we're sad it didn't align.
Yeah.
The board, it's been a fun tradition,
Yeah.
but I was actually kind of sad that I'm not gonna be here for the next board meeting, so I was like, oh, now I'm a little happy. Okay. So I was gonna miss it, so now I'm not gonna miss it, so I'm like, okay with this. So, all right, so then, That's the information on that, and then OFBA intensive.
Yeah, just, inform you that I have been contacted by the OSBA, Uniserve. And he's informed me that they do, intend to borrow. So this next spring. And that's, for our classified association.
Okay, yeah. And then we have trustee reports. Mike, you went to the EFP meeting yesterday.
Thank you, second. I had a chance to meet with Mike a couple of times. And then I went to that ESD meeting last night, and that was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's been entertaining.
It's been entertaining.
It was-
Definitely
Yeah,
something
it
like-
was, they actually, a couple of them actually caught me as before the meeting started. And I don't know what was going on, they all said, well, we're so glad you keep coming to these things, and I've been looking at, why do you say that, well, you know? But, things got a little heated and, I've always had a lot of respect for Linda, and she asked some really good questions, and she's not afraid to get in the fray of things, but, I don't know the politics of what happened. That one guy's been there for 100 years, and there's been a lot of changes, and the thing that kind of got me is she also went through the salary and all the benefits that this new CEO or whatever the head guy is gonna get, and that really put a, corporations that try to help people, you know, free this and free that, and the CEO is making a ton of money. I have a real problem with that. You're trying to help out, you know, I really care, I don't mind help, I love to help people, but I really careful about who I give it to, because I don't think that's right to have one guy or lady or whatever making all the money and they're really not helping what they're supposed to be doing, and man, the benefits. When they got quiet, I asked them, are they taking applications for that? I didn't go over very good, I thought it was funny. But, no, that was, quite a meeting, but it was kind of fun to sit there and listen to them. They had a really good discussion about it, which I was glad, but anyway.
That salary is north 200,000, right?
I think it's 240. Plus, 10,000 a year, what do they call that, retaining, benefit or something, and 25 days off, and it just goes on and on and on, extra car allowance and, way above. It's kind of like the guy that was the head of the National Rifle Association. That guy had a $240,000 clothing allowance. I've never heard of something like that, but anyway, it was really kind of fun to sit there and listen to everything. But that's
Well,
all.
we appreciate you going for us.
Yeah.
Sarah, do you have anything? I'm sure you do.
I've been to some things. Mike and I met with the Labor Management Committee. I was lucky enough to join all of you guys at the OSBA conference. I went to the Bond Oversight Committee last weekish.
Yeah, last Wednesday.
And then, I got to wrap up football. I'm transitioning my life into wrestling. I'm a newbie at this. I'm not sure how I feel about it. And I feel like I did something else, but I can't remember.
Mary.
Up to the legislative.
Oh, yeah, I did go to that road.
Oh.
Yeah,
I was,
I super missed that.
It wasn't really a road show, it was the, you know.
Yeah.
There was a show.
but if you didn't go, I grabbed some extra pamphlets. You got it? Okay,
Yeah, I got it.
good.
I did.
You want one? Yeah.
Mary, you. I won't forget you.
Me, hi guys. I made it to the OSBA conference. That's about it. But in all my fun, this is my last night on the road. So I've been doing this for 10 weeks between conferences and traveling. So it's kind of fun to see my son in the meeting because I haven't seen him. So that, that's fun. But yeah, that's all. That's really all that I can think of that I have done this month. I haven't been home. So
Well, we appreciate you zooming in tonight.
yeah, I'm happy to be here. And
Welcome back.
thanks. LeGrand has been great. It's freezing here and it's very windy.
I forgot you were there. I was there.
Yeah.
Candace.
I went to the Legislative Roadshow and the OSBA conference. I do think we should, I don't know if there's a feedback form that comes about the OSBA conference.
There is.
Okay, we'll get one each individually. Oh, I did not, but maybe I just didn't read it. Okay, because I would like to give some feedback that it felt very light on advocacy. Knowing what we've all been talking about and considering we had just had this, it felt like really light on that. We had our leadership meeting and talk about a kid who can talk you into stuff. Elise talked us into chaperoning the homecoming dance, and that was a trip. Scott was really excited that I talked to that, that I said yes for us. And then, one last football game. And that's it.
I went to leadership. Huh? Well, no, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Leadership, OSBA conference. I did make it to the boys state soccer playoff game. That's really good. Really cold, but it was good. Not pretty much all I know. Then just reminders that, the regular meeting is next December the 11th. Candace and I will not be here. So like, if anybody is not gonna make it, like, we need to. Like, it's sooner rather than like, I know Mary and I have already talked about it, and I'm pretty sure Lacey knows that we're not gonna be here because I'm gonna. Candace will be in Zoom, she'll be able to zoom in, but we just wanna make sure we have a forum, that's all. And so, that's December 11th, and then. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, then I'm gonna adjourn the meeting.